Okay, this is the hopefully last video on the Playfair cipher. Actually, I may put out one with a total solution, but I wanted to talk a little bit more. And again, I think some of you are having trouble. Some teams are done, I know, and you probably aren't watching this video. But I think that if you don't have it done, then you need to reevaluate whether or not you have built a sufficient structure to be able to solve the problem. And if you don't need to back up and start over again. I have 3 other videos out where I go through bits and pieces of this. You may want to rewrite some of your code. Okay, I want each group to get a working version of this. Remember, it's 30 points. It's worth 3 other programs. Okay, so if you have problems, you can definitely let me know and I will help you with your code. Okay, so I'm going to try to step through again because I don't have my iPad with me, so we're going to do this in Excel, but I want you to understand what we're doing with the problem. Okay, so when you look at the Playfair cipher, the first thing, so you need to break it up into steps. Okay, the first step, let's go ahead and write these down. Okay, so step 1 becomes you have the key, you want to generate the key square. Okay, so that's job 1 for us. Bigger so you can see it a little better. Okay, so you're going to give it a key, generate the key square. Okay, once we've done that, so 2 then becomes you have the plain text. Okay, we need to make sure that there are no double letters, and we have to make sure that it's even number of letters. Okay, that's the second thing we have to do. Okay, so that's going to give us the key square, and it's going to give us plain text with no double letters that has an even number. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, we're going to take the plain text like Noah, 2 by 2. Okay, and here's where you have some options. Now what I'm going to do, what makes sense to me, is I'm going to get the row and column for each of the pair. Okay, I'm then going to determine if they are same row, same column, or neither. Okay, I'm then going to, so step 5 then becomes, I'm going to encrypt each letter and write out to the ciphertext. Okay, so those are the steps we're going to have to follow. So I want us to understand what we're trying to do. Okay, so do one part, get it working, test it out, go to the next part, combine them together. Okay, so for the key square, and what I've done here, and this I would typically do on paper, but again, I didn't want to have to deal with it. I didn't have my iPad with me. So we're going to have a 5 by 5. That's how it works. We're going to get rid of I. Oh, we also have to get rid of I. I didn't say that. The plain text also has to replace J with I. Okay. That's the other thing we have to do. Okay, so it's going to be this 5 by 5. You know, really it's going to be bracket, square bracket, square bracket, the first one, and then so forth. Okay, so the positions for this 2-dimensional list are 0, 0 through 4, 4. Okay, so taking the example from the book or from the page we were looking at in my notes, we're taking monarchy. Okay, so that starts there. Okay, and one thing that's important when we're generating this key, we want to make sure that the letter's not already in the key. Okay, so we're making sure that it's unique. Okay, so if there's 2 letters in the key, we're not going to put them in there. So we start with the MONAR. That becomes our first row. We then switch and do the CHY. We then start filling in letters, making sure that we're not repeating any of those. Okay, so now we have that. Okay. So again, I've got the code for that already in a video. So that gets us to the key square. Okay. If, especially early on, you can just hard code this if that makes things quicker. Okay. So you don't give them the option to figure out what that is. Okay. And then once you've done that, it's just important that you know how to address things. So key square sub 0 is the first element of the outer array. Okay, the outer level of your matrix is this whole first row. Okay, the key square 4 is this whole second row, or this whole last row. Okay, and then to get to the rows, you would have to go through key square 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0. Okay, if that's what you were trying to do. Okay, so that's your key square. The next thing is the plain text. Okay, so the plain text, I would first replace the J with an I, and the string functions have a replace command. So you can replace J with I, that gets you there. Okay, you have to figure out if you're going to replace spaces with nothing. You can, or you can just leave them as spaces and then just not convert them. I think replacing them, again, replace double quote, space, double quote with comma, double quote, no space, will get rid of your spaces. Okay, so the order then doesn't matter. You're going to basically go through, and I start with the second letter. So again, let's say if we've got H O U, well, so H E L L O. Okay, so I loop through starting with this letter. Okay, so my range would start not at 0, but at 1, and say, does that equal that letter equal that letter? It doesn't. Okay, iterate through the loop. Does that letter equal that letter? It doesn't. Iterate through the loop. Does that letter equal that letter? It does. We're starting from here, change that one to Z, or is it X, whatever the algorithm says. I think it's an X there. Okay. Does that letter equal that letter? No, it doesn't. So we're good. Okay. Now count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we add a Z there. Okay. That's all you have to do. Okay. So once you've done that, you have your plain text, you have your key square. Okay. So not a big deal. Okay. So the next thing you have to do, you have to, again, through your loop, using a step of 2 on your range. Okay. You're going to get the first 2. So we have an H, we have an E. Okay. We're going to get from that the row column. So I wrote a row column function where I basically go through, and let's say for the H, I'm going to start and say, via loop, is H in key square 0? No. Is H in key square 1? It is. So for H, let's go in here. I did it in the wrong place. Let me do it here. There we go. Nope, still in the wrong place. Good Lord, I'm losing my mind. That's what I want. Okay. So H, I return 2 things. So it's a tuple. It's in row 1. Okay. So I know it's in row 1. I search for key square 1. I can use the index to tell me H is at index of 0, 1. Okay. So it's at 1, 1. Okay. Now I look at the E. Actually, down here's where I want it. It'll all work out. 1, it's late. It's late on a Tuesday. Okay. E. Okay. Is it in, so I start over again. The function now gets the E. Is it in row 0? Nope. Is it in row 1? Nope. Is it in row 2? Yes. Okay. So I know that it's a 2 for the row. And now that I know that, let me figure out the index of it. It's at a 0. Okay. So we're at 2, 0. Okay. So in essence, we have picked an H. Okay. Let me see if I can make this red, and an E. Okay. So now by looking at this row column, okay, we can see, are they on the same row? If so, this 1 would equal this 2, not in the same row. Are they on the same column? No. If so, this 1 would equal to 0, which it does not. Okay, so they're not the same row or the same column. Okay, so we're in that third case. Okay, and if I were doing this, I would probably pick my letters in such a way that I would test the row, get it working, then test the column, and so forth. Yeah, you can make your plain text to be 2 letters. So let's say I would have done an ME the first time. Okay, and let's just kind of force that right now. We've got an ME. So the ME is going to be, let's now make this one red. Again, I think it's an easier way to deal with things. Okay, so ME is at 0, 0. Okay, and E is at 2, 0. Okay, I was going to do the row first, but it doesn't matter. We're doing columns first. So the rows are not the same, but the columns are. Okay, so we have the same column. Okay, from the algorithm, we're going to add 1 to that. Okay, so the M is going to transfer from 0, 0 to 0, 1. Okay, it's bigger here. Okay, and the ME is going to go from 2, 0. No, that's not right. I did the wrong way. I'm going from 0, 0 to 1, 0. There we go. Row 1. Column 0. There we go. 0, 0. So 0, 0 to 1, 0. Again, having this, and I typed this in wrong first time. It should be 0, 2, 0, 0. So you got to keep yourself straight on this stuff, which is where this little diagram helps. And this is 4, 0. Okay, so I'm going from 0, 0 down 1 to 1, 0. Okay, and then the E is going from 2, 0 to 3, 0. Okay, so here I have 3, 0. Okay, so 1, 0, I can look that up by looking at key square bracket 1 bracket bracket 0 bracket. It's going to be row 1 here, row 0, row 1, column 0. Okay, that becomes a C. See, and do a lowercase in all these, or uppercase, either one. Okay, and then the other one's going to be 3, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0 is going to be an L. Okay, so ME becomes the first 2 letters of my ciphertext. Again, I would do the ciphertext as a list, so I'm going to append C, append L, and when I'm done, convert it all to a string. There's a function to do that. Okay, so that's how you do those kind. Okay, and then if instead we had M, let's do a complex one, R. Okay, so we're at 1, 1 here. Sorry, we're at 0, 0 there. Okay, let's change this back. Now it's R. So I've got that first bit of code working. Now I'm looking at this code. Okay, so we're at 0, 0, and we're at 0, 4. Okay, so 0, 0, and the R is at a 0, 4. Okay, don't know what we're transferring to yet. We'll worry about that in a minute. Okay, so we're at 0, 0, 0, 4. So we look to see, is the row the same? Yeah, the row is the same. Okay, so now we know that we're going to have to convert in this row by moving it 1 to the right. So we're going to increase the column number by 1. We have to mod that, do a modulo by 4. Okay, so the mod for, so let's do the M first. So at the M, we're at 0, 0, 1 to the right gets us to 0, 1. Okay, so that becomes a 0, 1. Okay, and the R is going to go 1 to the right, which is a 5. No, which is actually a 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're at 4. When we go to a 5, that's going to be, it's a mod 5, not mod 4, takes us to 0. Okay, that takes us back to 0, 0. Okay, so the M then goes to that 0, 1, which we're looking over here, is the O, and the R goes back to the M. Okay, that's an O, that's an M. That's how that goes. Add those two to the ciphertext. Okay, again, to a list, append those to the list. Okay, and then finally, if you have something else, we'll keep the M, but let's say we have a G. Okay, so the G is at this position. It's at 2, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so we've got a G here, G there, at 2, 2. Okay, so we look at the rows, they're not the same, columns are not the same. We got nothing. Okay, so the way this works, we're going to move the M over to the row of G. Okay, so we're going to keep the column the same, but move to the row. I've got those reversed. We're going to keep the row the same. We're going to move to the column of G. G is in column 2. We're moving over here to 0, 2. Okay, we can make that a different letter if you want. Make that blue. Okay. The G is going to move to the column, stay in the same row, to the column of M, which is 0. Okay. So G is going to go from 2, 2 to 2, 0. Okay. Which should be there. Okay. So 0, 2 is an N. 2, 0 is an E. So the M goes to N, the G goes to E. Okay. And those are the 3 cases. You do those separately once you have those numbers. Okay. Once you've done that, then it's just a matter of taking the list that you have. So right now we'd have a list of MGNE. Okay. Convert that to a list. Sorry, convert that to a string. You're done. You have your ciphertext. Okay. If you get the decryption working by Friday, life's good. I'm not going to worry too much about it. You probably won't get full points, but you'll get pretty close. Okay. Because once you have the encrypt, the decrypt's pretty much just changing things around, right? It's not much. So I would copy that fully over and then make the tweak. Instead of going down, you're going up. Instead of going right, you're going left. Other than that, it should work more or less the same way. Okay. So hopefully this is helpful to take time to go through this. This is a complicated program. It was in the textbook, the optional textbook, so I thought I'd give it a shot. It turned out to be a big problem for sure. But I suspect, I haven't seen anything to corroborate this, but I suspect that some of you are down a hole that's going to be hard to get out of. Sometimes you got to learn, cut your losses, start again, reorganize. Okay. Anyway, if you have any questions, we can talk about it. We're going on to something new tomorrow, but this will be, you can still work on this until Friday. Okay. If you have questions, always let me know.